BladeYGO is sick, and he needs your help. He's unable to upload right now and is completely incapacitated, so he can't bring you that high quality content you're used to, but he still wants you to smash the freaking like button and subscribe, as well as to check out House O Champions over here. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into a low quality discussion about Cyber Stein and why it completely flopped, fell off the face of the earth. You might remember some huge conversations and the community freaking out about Cyber Stein FTK. Oh no, we might not get a turn anymore. Konami didn't solve the problem. The Dark Engine's been hit, but there's still an FTK. Well, what happened at YCS Chicago was that this did not even make the top cut, and looking around at regional reports, it doesn't seem to really be consistently doing well in the regional scene either. I haven't seen a single top list for it at regionals. What happened? Where did it go wrong? This once powerful prize card has ascended back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Off the Forbidden and Limited list, yet he's just completely ineffective. Let's study Cyber Stein, Blade-esque style. He's a machine effect, level 2, pay 5,000 life points, special summon one fusion monster from your fusion deck to the field in attack position. Now, this would usually only be able to be abused and summon one big boss monster that's going to really wreck your opponent, but there was a way around this. There's a way to capitalize off of him, and it involved Brain Research Lab, which is a card that once per turn, you can normal summon a psychic type monster in addition to your normal summon or set. If successful, place a psychic counter on this card. You can also place a psychic counter on this card instead of paying life points to activate a psychic type monster's effect that you control. When this card is removed from the field, the controller of this card takes 1,000 damage for each psychic counter placed on it. So basically this card reads that you're allowed to pay over and over and over for psychic effects without having to pay life points and instead putting counters on. With access in the extra deck to Reproducus, we're able to turn Cyber Stein into a psychic should you summon it to the arrows of Reproducus. Do you see where this all went? Suddenly, our good buddy Cyber Stein is a psychic monster able to use its effect over and over and over, but there's a problem here. Cyber Stein isn't searchable in this style of deck. Cannon Soldier doesn't output enough damage for the FTK, so if we're to use Summon Sorceress to bring him out, he's in the wrong arrow to turn into a psychic monster in the first place, and even if you Zephyros bounce, make a Reproducus, and summon the Cyber Stein, then you've done a lot of extra steps that you probably might have needed to use to go into Saryuja earlier or use along your turn. So there's just so many different ways to end up bringing out Cyber Stein, maybe even from deck, but then Cannon Soldier also is not a searchable piece of the combo. So we really get into this place where people are now playing it in Saryuja Turbo. Saryuja Turbo, if you don't know, is a viable strategy that you can even call the World Chalice deck a Saryuja Turbo that managed to win, but it was also kind of a Firewall Turbo, wasn't it? But Saryuja Turbo decks in general have found a really nice place within our metagame, and it's gotten better and better. People are using Saryuja nowadays more than ever, so this danger kind of Saryuja build of Cyber Stein FTK started to develop, and it looked somewhat consistent as long as there weren't too many hand traps flying at you, that is. You see, there's no real protection in any of this to something like an infinite impermanence on your Cyber Stein. If you went for that, it's game over, man. You're setting up a link board that your extra deck is stuffed full of fusions for this FTK. Your extra deck is no longer as viable to be used to bam, 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 and go with your Cyber Stein strategy. Now, Saryuja Turbo still does end on some sick boards, but it feels like Saryuja's better placement for consistency is with the Guard Dragon engine because, notice, he's a really nice dragon that you can continue to go up into after abusing the Guard Dragons along with the Cola Serpent and Weaver Busters. Now, we end up on a negate with something like Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, which you might note on the secondary market has gone crazy because of the Guard Dragon engine, but having a guaranteed negate on board and setting up your boards that way just seems so much more in terms of the game advantage than trying to FTK your opponent without protection from a hand trap. being able to stop your opponent rather than inconsistently FTK is where this needs to go when using Saryujas and turboing out Saryujas. Amazoness Archer, also no protection from something like Infinite Impermanence, Psyframe, Gear Gamma. There's so many different things that could realistically interrupt your trying to FTK, and the FTK did take a couple of different routes, but if we look around on YugiTube, the reaction was overall sporadic. Oh my gosh, Yu-Gi-Oh! The Cyber Stein FTK emerges. 61,000 views, deck list explanations, everything. It's crazy. You see also on Cap G's channel, Konami screwed up. There's already a Cyber Stein FTK. RIP YCS Chicago. RIP YCS Chicago. You know what? I had somebody in my live streams come into my chat and bet me $25, bet me that the top 8 of Chicago would be 6 out of 8 Cyber Stein FTKs. And the man actually paid up after it didn't happen. Good on him. But you see how confident and crazy and driven the community is. 41k views. And I kind of held my breath on this outside of live streams. I repeatedly said, I don't think there will be more than 3 of them in Top Cut. I don't think 1 will make the top 4. It's just too inconsistent. And when you look at this deck list, it's using, from the previous Forbidden and Limited list, a Dark Warrior engine that got hit. We have Dark Greffer at 1, Armageddon at 1. Everything got hit for the Dark Warrior engine, and being able to Saryuja Turbo got less consistent, and you have to cram all those fusions into your extra deck. So unlike consistent FTKs in the past, let's go back in a couple of formats. Pendulum FTK just basically had to run instant fusions, and if you drew instant fusion, oh, you got the FTK. Otherwise, you're just playing the best deck of the format. This is not as splashable. Look at the chunk it has to take up out of the extra deck. It is quite the chunk. And then you have to play cards that, look, you don't even have room for terraforming for the field spell. You're hoping your Danger engine consistently gets you there. Your Saryuja engine consistently gets you there. Your draws consistently get you there and maintain advantage through hand traps. And while hand traps may have actually even come out of the format, the setup boards of negates haven't, and you're banking on winning the dice roll also consistently, or even siding out of this question mark. Can you imagine having to side out that many extra deck cards for when you go second and still side up against other strategies? It just didn't have the consistency that the deck wanted to have to maintain itself within the format. And I think the true outward reaction to something like this, when we're looking around at everything, when we're looking at these deck lists and seeing what they are, the reaction is to the word FTK. You say the words FTK and everyone loses their minds, especially when bigger names talk about them. And they don't want to see them in a format, because who wants to play a Yu-Gi-Oh game where you don't get a turn? But fundamentally, in our very first set of LOB, Exodia, the alternate win condition, was somewhat meant to eventually be a first turn kill if possible. You want to draw into Exodia and not allow your opponent a turn, and people actually get really excited when that's happening. So looking at FTKs in general, there are different forms of them, but at the same time, people want a turn to play. And that's where the true widespread terror and rumors and craziness about this deck popped out just for existing. But I think there's a place for FTKs as long as they aren't consistent, as long as they have to offer something. I think the Gem Knight FTK might still be more viable than this deck, which actually has already topped a regional this very season after we already have the ban list implemented. So be kind of looking around for that. That there's different FTKs besides just the, oh my gosh, Cyber Stein FTK. Konami hasn't got them all, and that's okay, as long as they're not just super consistent or throwing 3 cards into the best deck that's another option from your extra deck that's insane, like Instant Fusion. That's my take on it, though. I know a lot of you guys are just gonna say FTKs are unexcusable, they shouldn't exist, but I think there's a healthy balance as long as they aren't consistent enough to continuously win, unless an entire format just didn't expect it, and then you could side for that strategy in the future. I get it. I get it. Not playing Yu-Gi-Oh when you went to go play Yu-Gi-Oh isn't fun. But that's just my take on the discussion. Let me know yours in the comment section down below, and don't forget to smash like on this video for Blade, comment down below, and also check out my channel. It should be linked somewhere down below if Blade's doing the end cards. House of Champions. I do live more off the cup discussions than Blade, and I've been a big fan of his for a long time. If you might have noticed, his subs were like around 250 when I let him do his first guest upload, but I was that confident in his quality of work, hard work that he's been putting into YugiTube, and I'm like a proud grandpa over here, like really happy for this kid that's rising up, and he has shot up through the ranks. Just from his one guest upload, he rose over 750 subs for me, Team Sam, another 1K subs, and now he's grinded up on his own all the way through 6K subs. Blade is really putting in that work in the community, so I'm glad to give back a guest upload while he's sick. Be sure to continue to support this guy. He's gonna go places, I'm telling you. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to support me further than just watching my YouTube videos, go down into the description and support me on Patreon. It helps out quite immensely. As well, if you guys want to talk to me further than just my YouTube comment section, go down into the description and join my Discord server. Thank you guys so much for watching, and with that, I hope to see you soon.